Can we talk about Williams at the Imola Grand Prix? They performed quite well and definitely overperformed during that race. They are solidifying their spot as the 5th best team in the championship, definitely the best of the rest, and are continuing to outperform my expectations and a lot of other people's expectations. So Williams ended up placing 5th and 8th in the race, and then they qualified 6th and 7th, with Carlos Sainz actually beating everyone in Q2. This is absolutely remarkable if you look back where they were just a few seasons ago, and showing up to the first practice of the season a few years ago with a car that wasn't quite there, being late with parts, even as recently as last year, starting on the back foot after they've completely revamped their off-season and all of the practices they use to get ready for a new season. So the fact that they are comfortably at 5th place at the moment, I believe, they are at 51 points, which is ahead of Haas in 6th with only 20. And they have almost half as many points as Ferrari. Speaking of Ferrari, they are competing on track. They outqualified both Ferraris, and they are competing wheel to wheel with a team that historically is quite good. Now Ferrari is a little bit on the back foot this year, but I'm just utterly impressed with how far Williams has come. And this is on top of the fact that Williams says that they aren't really investing a tremendous amount this season. Their big goal is to prep for the rule changes next year. The fact that they are not only willing to put that development effort towards the next season, even though they're doing well, is just even more, cherry on top for this team and what they are able to and hoping to achieve. So I'm really excited to see where they go, what next season and the season after look like. This is fantastic momentum, and I couldn't be happier to see both Alex and Carlos doing well and performing at the level that they are. So what makes Williams so much better this year than in previous years? A couple of years ago, they had a very peaky car. It was remarkably good on a couple of circuits and would score quite a few points there, and then do very poorly in most other cases. This actually wasn't a bad strategy for scoring a decent number of points throughout the season, and they found that out when they switched to a more balanced car that was easier to drive, less peaky, but didn't have those standout performances, and they actually fell in the Drivers' Championship when they switched that new strategy. But clearly that is the better long-term strategy, as they've refined the car enough where they are in a spot that is not only consistent, but consistently quick and fast enough to, on a good day, not only be chomping at the heels of the top 4 teams, but in some cases surpassing them. There was a very real possibility of a Williams on the podium at Imola, which absolutely shocked me, and I think shocked a lot of people. There was also a possibility that both Williams finished ahead of both Ferraris, which would have just been absolutely remarkable. Now, I know that would have had to been a perfect world, and all of the safety cars and pit stops would have had to be spot on, but the fact that we're even discussing that this time last year would have been almost laughable. Another positive note about Williams in the future is the fact that the Mercedes engine, from all the rumors and speculation, looks to be one of the more competitive engine options. And if you look back to the start of the turbo hybrid rule era, Williams was really performing quite well and finishing in the top half of the Constructors' Championships, mostly because of that engine. Now that's partially what put them in the situation that they are now, where their aero was quite terrible for a number of years because they were over-relying on that engine and over-relying on the power advantage that it gave. And when we switched from an engine formula to an aero formula, that was really hampering them. But the fact that they've set the groundwork to build that aero efficiency and that balance means that when the time comes that they get really, really overpowered engine, they're going to be, hopefully, for them at least, a hyper-competitive team and able to punch up near the top. Another thing that excites me about Williams' trajectory is the fact that McLaren is doing quite well. And the reason I say that is for a number of years, and when I started watching F1, there was this impression that the customer team had almost no shot of surpassing and beating their supplier. So it's one reason why McLaren wanted to be a Honda Works team, or Red Bull ended up being a Honda Works team. And one reason Aston Martin is switching to that Honda engine is they want that ability to package their own engine and package everything to be optimal and perfect. And the prevailing assumption was that that was the only way to win drivers' championships and constructors' championships. But the fact that McLaren actually achieved a constructor's victory while being a Mercedes engine supplier really shows that it is possible. You don't need to be that factory works team to be victorious. In the era of Mercedes dominating every single year and then Red Bull dominating, it felt like that was really true. But this past year and currently, with McLaren having almost double the points that Mercedes does, that's showing that you can be a very, very successful customer team. And I think that bodes really well for Williams as they continue to push and develop, because that means that they're going to be in a position where if they keep this trajectory up, that they might be beating Ferrari, they might be beating Mercedes, they might be beating Red Bull in the future. Another thing that we can take from McLaren is that extraordinarily rapid development. If you look back to where McLaren was 18 months ago, 24 months ago, it looked like they didn't really have much of a shot of winning. A season and a half ago, they were nowhere. I mean, when Oscar Piastri's first race was a DNF, it looked like that it was a terrible mistake for him to move to McLaren versus staying at Alpine. But if you say, okay, if it's possible for them, and Williams does have some big breakthrough in their development and their correlation like McLaren had, who's to say that a year from now they might not be competing first or second for that Constructors' Championship, particularly with the massive rule change that we're going to be seeing. So I know this has been kind of a bit all over the place, a little bit rambly, but kind of the point of this is I'm just super excited to see that Williams is performing and competitive and not at the back every single weekend like they were when I first started watching. And I think that's really exciting. It's great for the sport. It's great that a heritage team like them, and one with drivers that are so likable like Alex and Carlos, is doing well and on the up. It's always a great story to see an underdog perform. With that, I'm looking forward to seeing what Williams and all the other teams do in the future, and keeping an eye on the Constructors and Drivers' Championship moving forward. And I'm excited for the next two races of this triple header.